I was scrolling through the Stoicism subreddit one day and found a popular question posed from someone new to Stoicism. He asked the group, "How does one practice Stoicism every day?" There are a lot of interesting and thoughtful answers to this question, but one comment stood out to me and has, quite simply, changed my life. The comment was this: I read and journal. Not every day. Sometimes I miss a few days in a row, but I get back in as soon as possible. It has helped me immensely. Read and journal. What grabbed my attention was how simple these two activities are. I would argue, if one reads and journals regularly, they are on track to living a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Humans have very few needs, and most of us in the Western world satisfy these needs without even thinking about them. We need to eat, drink, sleep, and have shelter. Those are our physical needs. But then we have our psychological needs, less essential, but still important, such as being a part of a community, experiencing love, and finding a purpose in our lives. Finding a purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, that's more than simply meeting our physical needs, is something we all struggle with. Marcus Aurelius wrote that people who labour all their lives but have no purpose are wasting their time, even when hard at work. In order to find purpose, one needs to assess what path they are following. Are you following the path of least resistance and living an unfulfilling life of consumption and hedonism? Or are you following the path of challenge and hardship that is ultimately rewarding and meaningful? To get on the latter path, a path where we value the longer-term pleasures rather than the short ones, we must evaluate everything we do with a few simple questions. Do I get value out of this? Do I resent doing this, or does it give me intrinsic satisfaction? The goal of Stoicism is virtue, a moral virtue broken down into wisdom, justice, temperance, and courage. Look at what you are doing and ask yourself if it is making you more virtuous. Is your life in balance, or do you need to employ some temperance in order to do more of the activities that help you become more wise and just? Do you have the courage necessary to seek out discomfort and build your character? To say the right thing, regardless of what people think? And to bring it back to the topic of this video, these are questions which can be thoughtfully answered through reading and journaling. They inform each other. We read to understand the world and our place in it, and we journal to incorporate what we have learnt. Reading and journaling are both fuel on the fire of our lives. So let's begin by talking about reading. In order to understand what things interest us, what we want to pursue, what excites us, what gives our lives meaning and joy, we need to read. It is the perfect salve for our minds.
I personally read every day and absolutely love the adventure of reading.
Our attention is a valuable resource. Our phones, laptops, social media, email, the news are all trying to steal our attention. Our minds are often at the whim of social media companies and email notifications. I can sometimes spend ages refreshing my email inbox, tense about the contents of the latest email. Epictetus said, "If a person gave away your body to some passerby, you'd be furious. Yet you hand over your mind to anyone who comes along, so they may abuse you, leaving it disturbed and troubled."
Okay, I'm gonna talk to Marcus.
Now get the fuck off my expo chef now! Get the fuck off! Thank you!
have you no shame in that? We are allowing technology and other people to disturb our tranquility, and they don't even have to have done anything. Simply waiting for someone's message can create anxiety. We allow the internet to disturb our minds, rippling the calm waters. It riles us up and sucks away our time and attention. And with our attention so fragmented, our focus and concentration has become fractured. Sustained, focused attention on one thing, such as reading a book, has become a challenge. Our modern technological environment is keeping us on the path of least resistance, the path of short attention spans and riled up minds. We will waste hours on YouTube or Instagram, unconsciously allowing technology to take large chunks of our time that could be spent attending to the 4 Stoic virtues. This is where reading comes in as an antidote. Johann Hari wrote, "If you see the world through fragments, your empathy often doesn't kick in the same way that it does when you engage with something in a sustained, focused way." Reading is for the mind, like exercise is for the body. It is an activity that provides one with clarity, focus, and relaxation. It is a form of forced meditation, quieting the mind through focusing on one activity for a prolonged period of time. Reading a non-fiction book is a thorough deep dive into one subject. You could read an article or watch a video about Stoicism, for example, but to really feel intimate and knowledgeable on a subject, reading is the best. But not just one book with one point of view. Try reading a book that follows a different angle, covers new ground, or argues something different. Become immersed in a subject from all angles. Seneca argued that you should be extending your stay among writers whose genius is unquestionable, deriving constant nourishment from them if you wish to gain anything from your reading that will find a lasting place in your mind. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. People who spend their whole life travelling abroad end up having plenty of places where they can find hospitality, but no real friendships. The same must be the case with people who never set up acquiring an intimate acquaintanceship with any one great writer, but skip from one to another, paying flying visits to them all. Food that is vomited up as soon as it is eaten is not assimilated into the body and does not do one any good. Nothing hinders a cure so much as frequent changes of treatment. A wound will not heal over if it is being made the subject of experiments with different ointments. A plant which is frequently moved never grows strong. It is true that to be everywhere is to be nowhere. Books give important subjects and contentious issues the time and space they need to be digested and understood, regardless if they are in the headlines. If we don't read non-fiction books, our knowledge of a subject is often skewed towards the extreme. We may come across an opinionated article or angry YouTube video, but they often cover the surface level of an issue and can be heavily biased. We often absorb that information without being critical and investigating further. If you follow the news, topics are talked about when they are relevant, but are quickly replaced by a new, controversial topic that is becoming hot at the moment. It is best not to form an opinion unless you've read a book or two on the subject. Then you can say you're well informed. If someone asks you what you think about something, instead of paraphrasing an article or YouTube video you watched recently, or what your friend has said about the subject, calmly say that you would like to read further before you form an opinion. As Marcus Aurelius said, you always own the option of having no opinion. Ask people their opinion, but be cautious of the sources they base their opinions on. Give yourself the time to work things out through reading. Wisdom and empathy can be cultivated through reading fiction. Fiction allows one to enter the mind of another, develop our emotional intelligence and our level of empathy. Stories are essential for empathizing and understanding the human condition. You are not alone with your feelings of loneliness, disenchantment, sadness, or anger. Fictional characters can help connect us with real people. Johann Hari wrote that fiction is a kind of empathy gym, boosting your ability to empathize with other people, which is one of the most rich and precious forms of focus we have. When one interacts with another, they are meeting them at their level of consciousness. This means how much their attention is divided between you and their worries and anxieties. Level of consciousness means how much the person is fully there with you. If they are angry or upset, they are probably listening to their stream of thinking more than listening to what you have to say. Don't take this personally. If they do or say something that displeases you, you can choose not to take offense. Through reading fiction, our emotional intelligence grows, and we can meet people where they are at, with kindness, compassion, and empathy. Instead of taking things personally, we can put ourselves in their shoes and imagine what they may be going through. This is powerful. Marcus Aurelius said, "Practice really hearing what people say. Do your best to get inside their minds." Listening to others is a vital skill in conversation, and this can be nurtured through reading. Only when one truly listens to another person can they say what's pertinent, relevant, and necessary. Don't waste words.
One of the reasons I speak slowly is because I attach value to every word I say.
Cato the Younger said, "I begin to speak only when I'm certain what I'll say isn't better left unsaid." Wisdom can seep into our everyday life if we make reading a habit. The interpretation that someone insulted you due to them being malicious is often the wrong way of looking at things. Through putting ourselves in their position and using a bit of creativity and imagination, we could be more tolerant and compassionate with others. People act according to their values, their upbringing, and changing emotions. In fact, many people can't help acting the way they act. The neurobiologist Robert Sapolsky wrote that, "We are nothing more or less than the cumulative biological and environmental luck over which we had no control that has brought us to any moment." This is a profound realization that can help make us more tolerant of others. Marcus Aurelius said, "Why do other souls, unskilled, untrained, disturb the soul with skill and understanding?" Reading fiction enables us to understand that nobody does the wrong thing intentionally. People do what they think is right to them in the moment. To sin is to miss the mark. Missing or not reaching a goal, way, mark, or right point. People aren't antisocial because they are bad people. They are antisocial because they are misguided. Here is a conversation between Epictetus and a student, which illustrates this point. Student: "But there are thieves and robbers." Epictetus: "What do you mean by thieves and robbers?" They are just confused about what is good and what is bad. Should we then be angry with them or pity them? If you show them where they have gone wrong, they will reform, but if they don't see it, they will continue to rely on their opinion to guide them. Student: shouldn't we do away with thieves and adulterers? Epictetus: by no means. Try putting your question this way. Shouldn't we get rid of people deceived in things that are most important? You will realize how inhumane your position is. They are blind, not in vision that distinguishes black from white, but in the moral capacity that distinguishes good from bad. So, it is like saying, shouldn't we execute this blind man or deaf man? Through reading, one can understand what leads people to action, which we may see as insulting, dishonest, or malicious. Socrates said, "To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom." Thyself doesn't just mean you individually, but all of humanity. Know what it means to be human, the way impressions, thoughts, sensory input impinge on our collective minds and skew judgment and reason, and you will become wise. Marcus Aurelius said, "To feel affection for people, even when they make mistakes, is uniquely human." You can do it if you simply recognize that they're human too, that they act out of ignorance, against their will, and that you'll both be dead before long. And above all, that they haven't really hurt you. They haven't diminished your ability to choose. Choose to not be harmed. Seneca said, "Living is the least important activity of the preoccupied man, yet there is nothing which is harder to learn." When do we find a pause in the busyness of our lives to reflect on how we are living? Most of us don't take the time to pause and figure out if we are happy with the lives we are leading. Am I following the right values? Am I pulled around like a puppet by pleasures and beaten around by pain? When was the last time I was truly content? The philosophy of Stoicism is a guide to living the good life, where one minimizes negative emotions and maximizes positive ones, such as joy. A Stoic finds joy in making rational use of the mind. How can we grow as people and figure out the values we want to live by if we don't reflect on our actions? Seneca wrote, "Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's account every day. One who daily puts the finishing touches to his life is never in want of time." How does balancing life's account mean one is never in want of time? Seneca is explaining that if one journals, gets his life in order through putting his thoughts down on the page, one will never need more time. The time put into journaling will, paradoxically, mean one has more time to live purposefully. Without daily reflection, one can easily get distracted and lose their way. If you find yourself spending a lot of time getting easily distracted, or caught up time and time again in negative thinking, it could be because you haven't sat down and taken the time to understand your mind. Spend time asking yourself if you are spending your time wisely. Writing thoughts down is a form of cognitive distancing, allowing you to be objective with your thinking. When stuck in the mind, thoughts can repeat on loop. When you journal down your thoughts, solutions to your problems can become more clear. For example, one morning I woke up with 3 worrying thoughts rattling around my head. Instead of going through the day with these worrying thoughts hijacking my thinking, I decided to write them down and come up with rational arguments to combat them. Worries often overestimate threats and underestimate our ability to deal with setbacks. Writing down and resolving your worries is a great way to feel confident about your abilities and spend the rest of the day with a more tranquil mind. Journaling is an extension of mind wandering. When one's mind wanders, thoughts are either unhelpful ruminations or creative ideas and connections. Ruminations are worries about the future, or negative thoughts, often regret and guilt, about events that happened in the past. This can become obsessive and cause stress and anxiety. Creative connections are where new ideas bubble up. Connections are made between thoughts that previously didn't have a clear link. This is where inspiration comes from, allowing your mind to have space to wander in a positive environment, free of distraction. However, most of us jump back and forth between rumination and distraction. We spend most of our days overstimulated and distracted, and this doesn't give our mind room to have creative ideas and find solutions to our problems. It is only when we turn off our spotlight of focus on one thought or idea and pause can we find a solution to a complicated problem or inspiration for our creative project. We need a positive environment free from distraction. Instead of jumping from one distraction to the next, open up a notepad and write down any thoughts that come up. Maybe take a walk and carry a pocket notebook with you. Allow your mind to wander and allow creativity to flow. If you don't write them down, thoughts can overcrowd your mind and create stress. Don't give your thoughts that power. Writing an evening reflection in your journal consistently is a gentle way of assessing how you are living. How are you interacting with other people? Are you listening, or always thinking of the next thing to say? Were you focused on the task at hand, or distracted by your phone? Did you have a firm grasp on what was in your control? You don't have to hate yourself if you have fallen off the philosophical path. The act of recognizing where you lost focus is halfway towards getting back on track. If one doesn't reflect in the evening, they are more susceptible to indulge in the same bad habits and thought patterns. Every day carries significance, even if it doesn't seem to. The lyrics in Pink Floyd's song Time encapsulate the idea of every moment being important and worthy of your attention, consideration, and reflection. Ticking away the moments that make up a dull day. Fritter and waste the hours in an offhand way. Kicking around on a piece of ground in your hometown. Waiting for someone or something to show you the way. Tired of lying in the sunshine. Staying home to watch the rain. You are young and life is long, and there is time to kill today. And then one day you find 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. A time of day that is incredibly important, but isn't paid enough attention to, is the morning. If you don't have a good morning, you might lose focus and intentionality throughout the day. Journaling in the morning is a good way of avoiding this. Allowing yourself to set your mind straight for the day. But more importantly, it is a way of reminding yourself about the inescapable facts. People will irritate you, and the Stoic gods will test your resilience and tranquility of mind. Go into the day knowing what is in your sphere of control, your choices and judgments. And spend a few moments practicing negative visualization, where you think about everything in your life you are grateful for. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours." Don't start the day thinking of the things you don't have. Starting your day with gratitude and joy and the things you do possess will mean you are lighter on your feet throughout the day, content with what you possess and control. Desiring the things you have means you aren't looking at the world for fulfillment. You already have everything you need, but you can still have ambition. One can be both grateful and ambitious. If you are ambitious and get what you sought after, but aren't grateful and content with it, what was the point in your ambition? Your plans must start from a place of contentment. Otherwise, succeeding will be a fruitless task. In conclusion, reading and journaling are two of the best ways of finding tranquility in your life and incorporating the Stoic philosophy. Developing a love of learning, storytelling, and reflection can set you on the path for deep personal fulfillment. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Now, go read and journal.